Season 1 of Squid Game introduces a down-on-his-luck chauffeur named Song Gi-hun, who is divorced, estranged from his daughter, deeply in debt to some dangerous loan sharks, and resorting to stealing money from his own mother to fuel his gambling addiction. At one of the lowest points in his life, Gi-hun is approached by a stranger who challenges him to a simple game of Deok-su for money. Piquing Gi-hun's interest, the man offers him a chance to win a lot more money by playing games with much higher stakes. Desperate, Gi-hun agrees, leading him to being drugged and waking up in a massive living space with 455 other people. This large group of strangers all wear green tracksuits and are identified by their own unique number, with Gi-hun being labeled player 456. Gi-hun and his fellow players realize they're all trapped in an unknown location, protected by masked guards in pink jumpsuits, and will be competing in a series of 6 games over the course of 6 days for the chance of winning several billion won. As the players prepare for their first game, Gi-hun discovers that his childhood friend Cho Sang-woo is a fellow player dubbed 218 who is also participating in the games. The pair befriend the elderly player 1, No-eul Nam, and they all agree to assist each other through the upcoming games. Gi-hun also recognizes player 67, Sae-byeok, who recently pickpocketed the last money he had to his name. The players are then led to their first of 6 games, overseen by the mysterious and masked frontman. The game is a simple red light green light, where the rules are to run from one end of the playing field to the other before time runs out, starting whenever a giant mechanical doll says green light, and stopping whenever the doll says red light. This game proves deadly when the first player to break the rules is shot dead. This alarms all of the other players, leading many to panic and flee, resulting in an all-out massacre that ends in over half of the contestants dead. The horrified Gi-hun and his allies survive the first game, now fully aware of the deadly stakes in store for them. With each player's death, more money is added to the overall prize pot. The contestants hold a majority vote to end the games, and the guards release everyone back to their homes, with no one receiving any money. Gi-hun attempts to alert the police of his experience, but no one believes his outlandish claims. No one, that is, except for Detective Hwang Jun-ho, whose brother previously went missing after receiving a similar game invite. Despite the horrific dangers of the game, Gi-hun and most of the other players realize that winning the massive grand prize is the only solution to their life problems and willingly choose to re-enter the game. Sang-woo is on the verge of arrest for committing financial fraud, the elderly Il-nam wishes to die bravely instead of due to his deteriorating health, and Sae-byeok wants to help get her family out of North Korea. Detective Jun-ho secretly infiltrates the games by posing as a guard and discovers the competition is being played on a remote island. While observing the guards behind the scenes, he discovers they are harvesting the organs of deceased players and selling them on the black market. Jun-ho also discovers that these deadly games have been played for over 30 years, and that despite his continued disappearance, Jun-ho's brother In-ho was actually a previous winner. As foreign VIPs arrive on the island to place wagers on the games, Jun-ho secretly attacks one of them and records a confession of all of the deadly and illegal activities occurring on the island. As Jun-ho flees with the evidence, he is caught by the frontman, who removes his mask to reveal that he is in fact In-ho. In-ho attempts to recruit his brother to help oversee the games, but the shocked and betrayed Jun-ho refuses, leading In-ho to shoot Jun-ho, knocking him off the edge of a cliff and into the ocean. Back in the games and better prepared for the dangers ahead, Gi-hun, Sang-woo, and Il-nam align with Sae-byeok and player 199 Ali, a Pakistani immigrant who has faced immense prejudice in his normal life. The second game requires every player to pick between a circle, star, triangle, or umbrella, and after making their selection are forced to cut out their chosen shape from a fragile cookie. Unfortunately, Gi-hun accidentally chose for himself the umbrella, by far the most difficult shape. Despite this, Gi-hun successfully completes the task, alongside all of his allies. Following the second game, the antagonistic player 101, Deok-su, kills another player after accusing him of eating more than his allotted food rations. The guards do nothing to intervene, with the only result being more money added to the final prize pot. And so, Deok-su realizes that he can simply kill the other contestants to make his position in the games easier. He forms an alliance of like-minded players, including player 212 Mi-nyeo, and they they stage a riot. Gi-hun and his newfound friends band together to survive the deadly night and make it to Game 3. The third game is Tug of War, forcing players to form teams of 10 to face off against each other. Deok-su betrays his loyal ally Mi-nyeo by abandoning her to instead form a team exclusively of stronger men. Mi-nyeo joins a team with Gi-hun and his allies, and despite having a seemingly weaker team, the elderly Il-nam helps his allies win their matchup by implementing the best strategy. Game 4 begins with players being forced to choose a partner. Gi-hun pairs up with Il-nam while Sang-woo pairs up with Ali. Unfortunately, the players are all then handed a bag full of marbles and told that to win the game, they must somehow have all of their partner's marbles in their possession by the end of a timer. Whoever loses dies. Gi-hun and his allies are all devastated that they are now forced to compete against each other. While Sae-byeok is traumatized over having to essentially sentence someone to death to win the game, Sang-woo coldly tricks his friend Ali into giving him his marbles. Meanwhile, Gi-hun takes advantage of Il-nam's dementia to trick him and win his marbles. As the time runs out and Gi-hun is declared the winner, Il-nam confesses he allowed Gi-hun to win, as they are Ganbu, trusted friends. And so, Gi-hun leaves the game distraught over his actions and the death of Il-nam. Going into the fifth game, only 16 players remain, including Gi-hun, Sang-woo, Sae-byeok, Deok-su, and Mi-nyeo. The next game is Glass Stepping Stones, where contestants must cross a bridge made of glass panels, some of which can support their weight, and others which will shatter and cause the player to plummet to their death. The players are randomly given the order for which they must cross the bridge, and after seeing countless players in front of him fall to their deaths, Deok-su refuses to advance, ordering players to pass him and risk their own lives to reveal the correct path, or they will all die when time runs out. Still bitter over being abandoned by Deok-su, Mi-nyeo chooses to sacrifice herself to grab onto Deok-su and cause them both to fall to their deaths. With time running out and the contestants not yet across the bridge, Sang-woo coldly sacrifices the player in front of him to reveal the incorrect path, allowing him to safely complete the bridge alongside the only other survivors of the game, his allies Gi-hun and Sae-byeok. Gi-hun now realizes that his childhood friend Sang-woo is willing to do anything to survive, even if it means turning on his own allies. Unfortunately, this knowledge can't help him prevent Sang-woo from murdering Sae-byeok, leaving him and Gi-hun as the final two players. The final game is the titular schoolyard classic Squid Game, which Gi-hun and Sang-woo played together as children. Ultimately, Gi-hun defeats Sang-woo, but doesn't want his friend to die, and instead begs for them both to forfeit the money and leave together alive and well. But Sang-woo refuses this offer, sacrificing himself to allow Gi-hun to win the money. Gi-hun returns home to find that in his absence, his mother has died. 1 year later, Gi-hun is a wealthy man, but heavily traumatized by all he has gone through, leading him to refuse spending any of his winnings. Gi-hun is then invited to meet with Il-nam, shockingly having survived the games, though now on his deathbed. As Il-nam reveals that he is in fact the game's original creator, founded to entertain bored wealthy people like himself, he also offers Gi-hun a new wager based on human decency. Will a single passerby help a drunken stranger before the stroke of midnight? Gi-hun accepts the wager and is relieved to see the drunk being offered assistance. As Il-nam witnesses his loss, he succumbs to his illness and dies. His faith in humanity now restored, Gi-hun rescues Sae-byeok's orphan brother and places him in the care of Sang-woo's mother, giving them both portions of his winnings to live securely with. As Gi-hun prepares to finally visit his estranged daughter in the hopes of reconciliation, he witnesses a stranger being recruited to play the next iteration of Squid Game. Gi-hun then abandons his plans to visit his daughter and instead chooses to infiltrate the new game and stop the vicious cycle of violence. Keeping your identity and personal information safe and secure online can feel just as difficult as being a contestant in Squid Game. But that doesn't have to be the case thanks to this video's sponsor, Aura. With just a simple search of my personal cell phone number on Google, I not only found results listing my name, age, email, and home address, but also my wife's phone number, email addresses, and her entire residential history dating back to when she still lived with her parents. This is super scary stuff, and now that we're about to have our first child, I want to be as proactive as possible role in protecting our family's online data. And that's where Aura comes in. Basically, if you've ever received a spam call or email, it's because a data broker has collected and sold your data. They can do this without your consent and profit billions of dollars selling your personal and private information to marketers, scammers, and even stalkers. While they're legally required to remove your data if asked, this process can be confusing, difficult, and exhausting. But Aura takes care of the entire process for you, not only ensuring your data is removed from these sites, but stays gone for good. Maybe you're already using some other digital security service or VPN, but without Aura, that's like locking the front door, but leaving the back door unlocked. With just one app, Aura offers alerts if your personal information is found on the dark web, real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking, 24/7 identity theft monitoring, US-based around-the-clock support, plus a VPN password manager, antivirus, and more. Plus, if anything ever does go wrong, Aura offers $5 million in identity theft insurance protection, and US fraud experts are available 24/7. So try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/recapandchill. In those 2 weeks, you'll discover where your data is being exposed and sold. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the recap. In Season 2 of Squid Game, in his unending search for the villainous frontman, Gi-hun has completely removed himself from normal society. He now lives in an abandoned and heavily fortified hotel, and is using his riches to pay his former antagonistic loan shark Mr. Kim to hire a team to search for the game's recruiter. After several years of tireless searching, Kim and his right-hand man Woo-sok finally track down the recruiter, who instead kidnaps them and forces them to play a deadly game of rock, paper, scissors. Ultimately, Kim chooses to sacrifice himself to allow Woo-sok to live. Gi-hun then arrives to confront the recruiter, who goads him into a game of Russian roulette. Ultimately, Gi-hun refuses to back down, and the recruiter is killed before he can reveal any information about the location of the next game tournament or the villainous frontman. Meanwhile, Jun-ho has survived his run-in with his brother In-ho, who is secretly the man behind the frontman mask. Jun-ho now spends his free time with Park, the boat captain that saved him from drowning, desperately scouring the ocean for the location of the games. Eventually, Jun-ho unites with Gi-hun and Woo-sok to work together in their now shared desire to bring down the games once and for all, though he keeps secret his brother's identity as the frontman. When Gi-hun is personally apprehended by the pink jumpsuit-clad soldiers that enforce the games, he is finally allowed to speak with the frontman over the phone, demanding that he end the games once and for all. As the soldiers then threaten the lives of Gi-hun's new allies, he instead asks to be placed back into the games as a player, hoping to bring them down from the inside. And so Gi-hun wakes back up inside the games as player 456 once again. Other players taking part in the latest game tournament include Gi-hun's old gambling buddy Jung-jae, the hot-headed and drug-addicted rapper Thanos, Thanos' loyal lackey Nam-gyu, a crypto influencer named Myung-gi whose investment advice lost a lot of people, including the vindictive Thanos, a lot of money, Jun-hee, the pregnant ex-girlfriend of Myung-gi, the young former Marine Dae-ho, the mother and son duo of Geum-ja and Yong-sik, former Special Forces Sergeant Hyun-ju, who wants the prize money to pay for her gender-affirming surgeries, Gyeong-seok, whose young daughter Na-yeon has a rare blood cancer that requires extensive money in the hopes of curing, and none other than the frontman In-ho himself, posing as the new player 1 and using the alias No-eul to befriend and manipulate the unaware Gi-hun. Meanwhile, a struggling woman named No-eul is recruited as a soldier for the games. After a chance run-in with Gyeong-seok's daughter Na-yeon, No-eul vows to use the money she makes from killing the various players to fund Na-yeon's medical treatments. No-eul is given pause when she realizes Gyeong-seok is one of the players, and fears the possibility of saving Na-yeon's life, only to leave her fatherless. No-eul also discovers that many of her fellow soldiers are taking part in a secretive scheme to harvest the organs of eliminated players to sell on the black market. To thwart these callous actions, No-eul begins shooting the eliminated players in ways that make their organs unusable. The first game is once again red light, green light, and despite Gi-hun's warnings, many of the players refuse to believe in the deadly consequences that come with losing. After many players are slaughtered by the guards upon their elimination from the game, Gi-hun rallies the others to follow his commands as he leads them all to victory and safety. Following every game, the players will now be given the choice to vote on whether or not to continue playing games, and if the majority of contestants choose to leave, they will all split the money accumulated so far and be granted their freedom. Gi-hun rallies supporters including Jung-jae and Dae-ho, who bond over their shared past in the Marines, but ultimately the other players choose to continue the games in the hopes of accumulating more money. In the second game, the players must divide themselves into teams of 5 and complete a pentathlon of 5 children's games within 5 minutes, or else they will all be killed. Gi-hun successfully teams up with Jung-jae, Dae-ho, No-eul, and the outcast Jun-hee to successfully complete the pentathlon and secure their safety. Following the completion of the second game, Gi-hun bonds further with his team, forging a strong friendship and respect for Young-il. As a new vote is held to determine whether or not the games will continue, Young-il sides with Gi-hun in trying to convince everyone to vote to leave. But instead, temptation wins out once again, and the majority vote to continue the games. The third game is titled Mingle, which is played in several rounds where an announcer calls out a number, and that many players must band together to enter designated rooms. Anyone who fails to enter a room, or any players who enter rooms in the wrong quantity, are killed. Amidst the bloody chaos of the games, Young-il and Jung-bae enter a room with another player, though the required number for that round is 2. And so, Young-il coldly murders the other player to save his and Jung-bae's lives. Following the third game, another vote is held to determine whether or not the game should continue, this time with the results ending in a tie. The players are told a revote will occur the next day, and people quickly begin formulating plans to ensure the vote goes in their desired direction. Many of the players who wish to continue the games, like the antagonistic Thanos and his lackey Nam-gyu, attempt to intimidate the other players into changing their votes. But eventually the players realize if they kill their opposing voters, the results will sway in their favor, and so a massive bloody fight ensues, resulting in Myung-gi being forced to kill Thanos in self-defense. When the masked soldiers arrive to finally break up the fight, Gi-hun leads his allies in attacking the soldiers, killing them and stealing their guns. Gi-hun announces his intentions to rebel against the games and fight their way to freedom, rallying a small army of players with gun-handling experience like Young-il, Jung-bae, Dae-ho, Hyun-ju, and Gyeong-seok to accompany him on a deadly mission to the arena's headquarters and bring a violent end to the games once and for all. Meanwhile, outside of the games, Jun-ho and Woo-seok lead a team of mercenaries using Captain Park's boat to scour the water for the game's location, in the hopes of staging a rescue mission for Gi-hun. Secretly, Park is a double agent, and as Jun-ho and Woo-seok get closer to uncovering the location of the games to bring them down and rescue Gi-hun, Park begins sabotaging their mission and killing off the unaware mercenaries. As the season comes to a close, Gi-hun's group make their way through the winding and colorful hallways and stairwells, where they are eventually confronted by more masked soldiers. A brutal fight ensues with casualties on both sides. As the army of players becomes overwhelmed and runs out of ammunition, Dae-ho volunteers to race back to the player dormitory to collect ammo from the dead soldiers. Unfortunately, the military veteran becomes emotionally overwhelmed and can't bring himself to return to the shootout, abandoning his allies and leaving them with no way to defend themselves. As Hyun-ju valiantly races back to the dorms to retrieve the ammo, soldiers arrive and take back control of the area. Back in the stairwell, Young-il secretly kills 2 of the players and fakes his own death, finally ready to return to his role as the villainous masked frontman. The other players are overrun and executed, though as Gyeong-seok prepares to die, he is potentially saved by his secret guardian angel No-eul. The last 2 rebellious players remaining are Gi-hun and his longtime friend Jung-bae. The masked frontman then arrives and tragically kills Jung-bae, teaching the distraught Gi-hun a lesson about the consequences that come with trying to play the hero.